Commander Thraxx's 6 eyes narrowed as he watched the pathetic human cadet stand in the training arena. The little pink creature couldn't have been more than 2 meters tall, with only 2 arms and those ridiculous 5-fingered hands. What a joke. The entire Galactic Military Academy had been buzzing about these humans joining their ranks, and frankly, Thraxx found it insulting. "Attention, maggots," Thraxx bellowed, his voice resonating through the combat chamber. His 4 massive arms crossed over his chitinous chest as he addressed the mixed group of cadets. "Today we're going to see if these so-called humans can even survive basic combat training." The other cadets snickered. A Vorthan with its tentacled face made what passed for a laugh in their species. Even the usually stoic Zilkarians seemed amused, their crystalline forms chiming with barely contained mirth. Standing among them was Cadet Riley Parker, looking hilariously out of place with her soft skin and single pair of eyes. She wore the standard Academy uniform, which had been hastily modified to fit her bizarre anatomy. No tail holes. No wing slits. Just smooth fabric covering her bipedal form. Parker. Thraxx barked, pointing one of his clawed fingers at the human, front and center. Riley stepped forward, her movements fluid in a way that made Thraxx's antennae twitch. Something about how she walked bothered him. Too smooth. Too calculated. "Sir, yes, sir," she responded, her voice steady. Thraxx chuckled, a sound like grinding rocks. "Your species barely discovered faster than light travel last cycle. Most of you still eat your food with primitive metal implements. Tell me, Cadet, what makes you think you belong here?" Riley's expression remained neutral. "Permission to demonstrate, sir." The commander's mandibles clicked in amusement. "Oh, this should be good." "Very well, human. Show us what your fragile little species can do." Thraxx descended from his elevated platform, each step making the floor vibrate. He towered over the human by at least a meter, his exoskeleton gleaming under the harsh training lights. The other cadets formed a circle, eager to witness what would surely be a humiliating defeat. "Standard combat protocol," Thraxx announced. "Pin your opponent for 3 seconds to win." "Simple enough for your primitive brain, human?" Riley nodded. "Crystal clear, sir." The Galactic Military Academy had seen countless species train within its walls, the Krillians with their acid spit, the Nexari with their psychic shields, the Gorethans with their ability to phase through solid matter. But humans? They had nothing. No natural weapons, no armor, no special abilities. Just soft, squishy meat wrapped around brittle bones. Thraxx flexed all 4 arms, each one capable of bench pressing a small spacecraft. His species, the Thrakari, were apex predators on their home world. They had conquered 17 systems before joining the Galactic Council, and now he was expected to train alongside these hairless apes. "Begin," shouted Lieutenant Bezic from the sidelines. Thraxx lunged forward, planning to end this farce quickly. He'd grab the human with his upper arms, pin her with his lower ones, and then spend the rest of the training session explaining why humans had no business in military service. But Riley didn't move backward. She stepped forward, into his reach. What happened next took exactly 4 seconds, but Thraxx would replay it in his mind for cycles afterward. Second one. Riley's hand shot up, gripping his upper right wrist with those 5 tiny fingers. Her thumb found a spot between his exoskeleton plates that he didn't even know existed. Second 2, she twisted, not with brute force, but with precise application of leverage. His wrist joint, designed to withstand impacts that would shatter steel, simply gave way. Second 3. The crack echoed through the chamber like a gunshot. Pain exploded through Thraxx's neural pathways as his wrist bent at an angle that defied his anatomy. Second 4, Riley's other hand was already moving, her body pivoting, using his own momentum against him. The commander's massive frame crashed to the ground with Riley's knee pressing into what humans would call a kidney, if Thrakari had kidneys. The training chamber fell silent. Every cadet, regardless of species, stared in shock. The mighty Commander Thraxx, veteran of 100 battles, was pinned to the floor by a human who barely came up to his thorax. 3 seconds. Riley said calmly, maintaining her hold. A match complete. Thraxx tried to move, but every attempt sent fresh waves of agony through his broken wrist. How? How had she known exactly where to grip? That spot between his plates was a closely guarded secret among his people, a vulnerability they never spoke of to other species. Impossible, wheezed Thraxx. You cheated. Riley released him and stepped back, her expression still maddeningly neutral. No, sir. I simply applied basic human anatomy knowledge. You see, we've been breaking bones for millions of years. First our preys, then each other's. We've gotten quite good at finding weak points. The medical team rushed in, scanner drones buzzing around Thraxx's injured wrist. The readings confirmed what everyone already knew, a clean break right through the joint. Captain Velox, the Academy's Zenthran instructor, slithered forward on her serpentine lower body. Cadet Parker, explain your technique. Riley stood at attention. Sir, humans evolved as persistence hunters. We needed to understand anatomy intimately to track wounded prey. Every joint, every pressure point, every weakness. It's hardwired into us. She glanced at Thraxx, who was being helped to his feet by the medical team. The commander's species shares certain structural similarities with Earth's arthropods. Chitin is strong but inflexible. The joints are always the weak points. A Vorthan cadet raised a tentacle. But how did you know where to grip? Thraxx joint structures are classified information. Riley's mouth curved into what humans called a smile. It was an unsettling expression. Physics is universal, sir. Leverage doesn't care about your species, and humans. She paused. We've been taking apart things to see how they work for a very, very long time. The implications hung in the air. Every species in the galaxy knew their own weaknesses, kept them hidden, protected them jealously. But humans studied everything. They took apart, they experimented. They learned. Thraxx cradled his broken wrist, his pride more damaged than his exoskeleton. You're saying your entire species does this? Not consciously, Riley admitted, but we've been wrestling, boxing, and generally beating the hell out of each other since we climbed down from the trees. Every human child learns about pressure points. Every medical student studies anatomy. Every martial artist knows that the body is just a collection of levers and weak points waiting to be exploited. Lieutenant Zalar's feathers ruffled. That's disturbing. Riley shrugged. That's human. We're not the strongest, not the fastest. Definitely not the toughest, but we notice things. We learn, we adapt, and we really like taking things apart to see how they work. The silence stretched on. Every non-human in the room was running through the same calculation. How many ways could a human find to hurt them? How many weaknesses had they already cataloged? Captain Velox cleared her throat, a sound like wind through dried leaves. Cadet Parker, report to advanced combat training tomorrow. Commander Thraxx, report to medical for treatment. As the crowd dispersed, whispers filled the chamber. The humans were here to stay, and suddenly, that seemed much more significant than anyone had realized. Riley headed for the exit, but Thraxx's voice stopped her. Cadet. She turned, eyebrow raised. That grip. Where did you learn it? Riley smiled again. That unsettling, predatory expression. YouTube, sir. Amazing what you can find on the human internet. As she walked away, Thraxx stared at his broken wrist for seconds. A species barely past its atomic age had taken down a veteran warrior in 4 seconds, and she'd learned it from their entertainment network. The galaxy had no idea what it had just invited in. 3 cycles had passed since the incident that Academy personnel now referred to as the Snap. The mess hall buzzed with nervous energy whenever humans entered. The cadets who once towered over their human counterparts now gave them respectful distance. Commander Thraxx's wrist had healed, but his pride remained in traction. Today's advanced tactical course would be different. Instructor Thraxx, a Morvakian with bioluminescent skin that shifted colors with his emotions, had designed something special. His species prided themselves on psychological warfare and strategic thinking. Surely that would level the playing field against these unsettling primates, Cadets, Thraxx announced, his skin pulsing deep purple with authority. Today's scenario: urban warfare simulation, squad-based tactics, mixed species teams. Riley Parker found herself grouped with Cadet Zix, a silicon-based Crystari, and Cadet Vaughn, whose people looked like upright mantis shrimps with too many eyes. They exchanged glances. None of them thrilled about the arrangement. The objective, Thylex continued, his skin rippling to orange, is simple. Each team must capture and hold 3 strategic points in our simulated city. You'll face automated defenses and rival teams. The environment has been calibrated to challenge all species equally. Riley's teammate Zix made a grinding sound that served as their laugh. Equally. Your soft tissues will not survive the plasma barriers, human. We'll see. Riley replied mildly. The simulation chamber transformed around them. Buildings materialized, creating narrow streets and elevated positions. The air shimmered with the telltale sign of force fields and hidden weaponry. Again, instantly chaos erupted. Teams scattered in different directions. Plasma fire lit up the artificial sky. Somewhere to their left, a Gorethan phased through a wall only to trigger a stun field and collapse in a heap. Standard formation. Zix commanded, taking point. I lead. Vaughn provides overwatch with those eyes. Human takes rear guard. Riley didn't argue. She'd learned that most alien species assumed humans belonged in support roles. Let them think that. They moved through the streets methodically. Vaughn's compound eyes swiveled independently, tracking 12 different sight lines at once. Zix's crystalline body could deflect most energy weapons. Riley just walked, observed, and noticed things. Movement. Vaughn chittered. Team approaching from Sector 7. Zix raised their energy shield. Prepare for engagement. Wait, Riley said softly. Don't you smell that? Both aliens paused. Smell. Zix's translator struggled with the concept. Humans detect chemical signatures. Ozone, Riley explained. Specific concentration. There's a plasma mine grid about 20 meters ahead. Maze ahead. Your shields won't help if you step on one. Vaughn's eyes narrowed. Focusing on the seemingly empty street. I see no visual indicators. You wouldn't. Riley picked up a piece of debris and tossed it forward. It vaporized in a brilliant flash exactly where she'd predicted. Humans have about 400 olfactory receptor types. We needed them to track prey, avoid predators, find edible plants. Your species evolved in different environments. You rely on other senses. Zix's crystalline structure dimmed, their species equivalent of going pale. How do we proceed? Riley smiled. Follow me. Step exactly where I step. She led them through an invisible maze, navigating by smell alone. Her teammates watched in stunned silence as she avoided trap after trap, sometimes pausing to sniff the air like some primitive beast. They secured the first point, without firing a shot. At the second objective, they encountered Team 9, 3 Nexari using their psychic abilities to predict enemy movements. Riley watched them for 30 seconds, then turned to her teammates. They're reading our surface thoughts to anticipate attacks, she explained, but humans have something called the monkey brain. Our deeper instincts operate below conscious thought, so, Zix asked. So I'm going to stop thinking and let instinct take over. Cover me. Before anyone could protest, Riley sprinted forward. The Nexari tried to read her intentions, but found only primitive impulses: hunt, dodge, strike. Her confusion lasted just long enough for Riley to close the distance. She didn't use any exotic combat techniques this time, just good old-fashioned human brutality. An elbow to what might have been a solar plexus, a sweep that sent one Nexari tumbling. Her movements were pure reaction, no thought to read. The psychics retreated, overwhelmed by the chaos of an unthinking predator. Second point secured, Riley announced, breathing heavily. Vaughn stared at her. You voluntarily shut down your higher cognition? Humans can compartmentalize, Riley shrugged. We can choose which part of our brain drives us. Useful when you evolve in a world where overthinking gets you eaten. The final objective proved the most challenging. It was held by Team 3, led by none other than Commander Thraxx himself. His wrist had healed, and he'd clearly been studying human combat techniques. So, Thraxx growled as they approached. The monkey returns. His team had fortified their position well. Energy barriers blocked most approaches. Automated turrets covered the rest. A frontal assault would be suicide. Riley studied the setup, then turned to her teammates. I need you to trust me. This will seem insane. Define insane, Zix requested. We're going to use human stupidity as a weapon. She outlined her plan. Both aliens immediately objected. That's not tactics, Vaughn protested. That's madness. That's madness. Exactly. Riley grinned. No sane species would try it. That's why it'll work. 2 minutes later, Team 7 executed the most bizarre assault in Academy history. Zix charged straight at the energy barriers, shields at maximum. The defenders focused fire, confident the barriers would hold. Vaughn provided covering fire, those magnificent eyes targeting weak points with surgical precision. And Riley did something no rational being would consider. She climbed. It's not the buildings, not the walls. She climbed the force field itself. Human fingers, it turned out, could find purchase on the microscopic fluctuations in energy field matrices. It was painful, dangerous, and theoretically impossible. The energy should have repelled organic matter, should have burned her hands to stumps. But humans had spent millions of years climbing things they shouldn't. Trees too smooth, cliffs too steep, mountains too high. Their bodies adapted. Their minds simply refused to accept impossible. She reached the top of the barrier and dropped directly into Kroxal's fortified position. Surprise, she said pleasantly. The defenders spun to face her, leaving gaps in their coverage. Zix and Vaughn pushed through, and within moments the position was theirs. Simulation complete, Thraxx announced, his skin cycling through colors so rapidly it was giving everyone headaches. Team 7 victories at all 3 objectives. In the debrief room, Thraxx struggled to maintain his composure. Cadet Parker, explain your methods. Riley stood at attention. Sir, human evolution was messy. We're not specialized. We're not optimal. We're generalists who survived by being too stubborn to die. Every other species evolved elegant solutions. We just threw everything at the wall and kept what stuck. The plasma minefield, Thraxx prompted. We hunted by persistence, tracking wounded animals for days. Smell was crucial. The psychic defenders? Humans have multiple neural systems. Our rational mind is just the latest addition. The older parts still work fine. And climbing an active force field? Riley shrugged. Humans see barriers as suggestions. It's why we have warning labels on everything back home. If it exists, some human has probably tried to climb it, eat it, or mate with it. The room fell silent. Several cadets looked vaguely ill. Instructor Thraxx's skin had settled on a color that didn't exist in most visual spectrums. You're telling me human military doctrine is based on evolutionary stubbornness? Partly, Riley admitted. But mostly it's based on the fact that we're crazy enough to try anything once. Your species evolved to fit your environments perfectly. Humans evolved to kick their environment in the teeth until it gave up. Commander Kroxal leaned forward. That's why you broke my wrist. It's not superior strength or speed, just the willingness to do what shouldn't be possible. Bingo, Riley smiled. Every species has limits, boundaries, places they won't go. Humans hear that's impossible and think challenge accepted. The implications rippled through the room. The galaxy had assumed humans were weak because they lacked natural weapons. But what if their weapon was the absence of limitations? The willingness to try absolutely anything? Captain Velox entered the debrief room, her serpentine form undulating with urgency. The cadets, we've received priority intelligence. The Scytherian Empire is mobilizing against the outer colonies. All advanced combat teams are being fast-tracked to active duty. The Scytherians. Even their names sent ripples of fear through the galaxy. A warrior culture that had never lost a conflict. Their battle doctrine was perfect, refined over millennia. Cadet Parker, Velox continued. High Command has been reviewing your performance. They're forming experimental mixed species units. You're being offered field commission as tactical advisor. Riley straightened. Sir, they want human insight integrated into our strategies. Your unconventional approaches might be exactly what we need against the Scytherians. Kroxal stood, his recovered wrist clicking with the movement. "Captain, I volunteer for the humans unit." Surprised murmurs filled the room. The commander, who'd been humiliated, now volunteering to serve under human advisement? "You surprise me." "Commander," Velox noted. Kroxal's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "The human broke my wrist in 4 seconds and climbed an energy field through sheer stubbornness. If we're fighting the Cytherians, I want that insanity on our side." One by one, other cadets stood. Zix, Vaughn. Even some Riley hadn't worked with directly. They'd seen what human unpredictability could do. Thylex's skin shifted to a deep gold of approval. "It seems Cadet Parker has created the galaxy's first human fan club." Riley looked at the assembled volunteers, elite soldiers from across the galaxy, willing to follow human tactical advice, not because humans were stronger or smarter, but because they were willing to do the impossible. "All right," she said finally. "First lesson in human warfare, throw out the rulebook. Second lesson, if it's stupid but it works, it's not stupid. Third lesson, the enemy can't predict your strategy if you don't have one." The room erupted in nervous laughter. The galaxy's greatest military minds were about to learn from a species that had weaponized stubbornness itself. As the meeting broke up, Vaughn approached Riley. "One question, human. That thing about some of your kind trying to mate with anything, that was hyperbole, yes?" Riley's silence spoke volumes. "Oh, void," Vaughn muttered. "What have we allied ourselves with?" Outside, the stars continued their eternal dance, unaware that a species of chaotic problem-solvers had just been unleashed upon the galaxy. The Cytherians had perfected warfare over millions of years. Humans had perfected ignoring the impossible. The universe would never be the same.